Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.
St. Louis Public Radio's The Gateway gives you the day's news first thing every weekday morning. From the ever-evolving relationship between St. Louis City and County to developments in the Missouri and Illinois state capitals and reports from our correspondents in Rolla and the Metro East. We put it all in a roughly 10-minute package with clarity and context. Download The Gateway wherever you get podcasts.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
Pickleball is certainly a racket sport like it, but different game, yes.
Mike, do you think if pickleball had a name like platform tennis, it maybe wouldn't be seeing the exponential growth that it's now seeing? The charm of that name is surely part of it.
It really is, and like I said, it's this name that's got the curse and the blessing. Once you hear it, you never forget it, but sometimes people don't take you really serious. And the game is actually becoming very popular athletically and organizationally.
I'm Sarah Fensky. Pickleball isn't anything new. This hybrid of tennis, ping pong, and badminton was invented in 1965, as you may have learned during high school PE class. But in recent years, pickleball's popularity has soared. Not only are more and more parks offering permanent pickleball courts, but those courts always seem to be full. Our producer, Emily Woodbury, stopped by the pickleball courts at Tillis Park on a recent Sunday just to see what she could learn about what's driving locals to pick up pickleball paddles.
6-10-1.
I'm Josh Sidney Smith. I live in Gravois Park.
And how long have you been playing pickleball?
Just a couple months. My wife's grandparents play, and actually one of my coworkers brought it up, and we played a little bit in winter. And then everyone that tries it out for the first time is hooked, and they end up buying a pickleball paddle set that night.
And why do you think that is, or what was that moment for you?
It's just a fun sport. We can, you don't have to work too hard, so it's a good socializing sport.
Have you played yet today? How are you doing today?
I've played okay. These guys watch a lot more YouTube videos and professional tips and stuff, so they've got a little more technique. Some spicy serves.
Elisa Head, Webster Groves. She asked me one day, do you want to play? And I was like, yes, because I saw some people playing in Palm Springs, California, where I was out visiting. And I thought it looked fun, and I wondered what they were doing. And because I had never heard of pickleball before, so I immediately said yes, and we started playing, and we haven't stopped.
It's MJ Corcoran, St. Louis, Missouri. It's been about 7-8 years ago when I moved to Utah, and it was very popular there, and then came back to St. Louis, and it took a while for it to start here, but now it's full force.
And what do you like about it?
Oh my gosh. Well, one, I get to be with my friends and laugh at myself, but two, it's something that, I hate to say it, but at age 60 plus, gives you some great exercise. You're able to be outdoors.
Sally Evans, and I live down the street close to Cherokee. It definitely seems like it's growing as far as I've seen all kinds of tennis courts being converted to courts, maybe because of the size. It's a little bit smaller, so they can, I've definitely seen them starting to pop up in different parks and stuff.
If you could give an overview of how it works and what the rules are, what would you say?
Maybe like a miniature tennis with a wiffle ball. And the reason it's called pickleball, I still haven't figured out. There's nothing pickle related. The court screen, the boundary areas sometimes, so don't really know.
How it works, I don't know. You have this great paddle and a ball, and, there's rules, but they're simple. So that's the thing. I'm Susan McGraw, live in Brentwood. You go out there and you talk to people. Everybody's
watch a YouTube video and you're ready.
I live on YouTube. Yeah. When I hate to say it, but at night when I can't sleep, I'll be watching a YouTube video at 3 a.m. on how to do serves or how to dink or whatever.
It's a lot of fun, but we need more courts. Yes. We need more places to play.
Yeah, where do you typically play?
Tillis Park. And then we also play at DePere Park.
And Kirkwood.
And Kirkwood, yes.
Yeah.
Kirkwood Park.
What would be your top tip or top tips for someone who wanted to get into it?
Just go out and play with a friend. Most people have a set, so if you know someone that's playing already, try it out. 99% chance that you'll be hooked and you'll end up buying your own set.
A pickleball set on Amazon is maybe $20 or $40 for a couple to play with. So it's pretty approachable as far as like equipment needed to get started.
Just go for it. Do it. It's so much fun.
That report is from producer Emily Woodbury, who visited the Tillis Park pickleball courts on April 25th. And joining us today is a man who's done more than anybody to spread pickleball across St. Louis. Mike Chapin is the subject of a first-rate news story in St. Louis Magazine. He's also a certified pickleball instructor and the man behind stlouispickleball.com. So Mike Chapin, welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. It's really exciting to be on your show and talk pickleball with all the guests.
So, Mike, I understand you got hooked on pickleball in 2014. What first got you into it?
Just like a lot of people, somebody mentions the game to you, puts a paddle in your hand. I played other sports growing up. Tennis was not my first sport. I only started in my late 20s. Played for about 8 years, but when I found how easy and fun and quick the game was to learn and engage athletically, I'm like, this is a sport I can play for the next 30 years, and I'm really excited to, continue into that process.
So I feel like when I was living in California about 10 years ago, I saw a lot of pickleball action, but it wasn't the case when I moved to St. Louis. Was it hard initially finding a place to play?
You know what? It did. It started on the West Coast in Seattle, Washington area, went down the coast, across the southern states, became extremely popular. A lot of the snowbirds brought it up to the northern states, but it kind of missed the Midwest bubble. In St. Louis here, probably about 2012, 13, there was pockets of it. It was being played in the PE programs at various schools, but nothing more professionally or even with any kind of court systems. I started playing in 2014 and kind of thought, hey, I have in the neighborhood of Tillis Park, what can I do to try to enact change and build real pickleball courts like they have around the country? And that started the process.
A lot of people have this idea that they want to make change, and then they run headway into like the Byzantine structure of getting things done at St. Louis City Hall. Was it hard to get these courts put in over at Tillis Park?
You know what? It was a little bit of an act of trying to just be creative and organize different things. I got on to the domain and created stlouispickleball.com. Developed the website and logo and talked to the neighborhood association. We had some really bad tennis courts and dilapidated state, and it just said, hey, here's a sport that's happening, it's growing. If you just allow me to try to fix the courts physically, I had to dig out mud and dirt and fill it in and start to promote the game one day a week for free pickleball. I put up flyers around the neighborhood, and one week we would have 8 people, and next week we have 12 people. And I would take a picture every week and send it to the alderman and the Parks and Rec director, Greg Hayes. And by the end of the summer of 15, we had literally 30 people playing once a week at Tillis Park, and they decided to make the change and spend the money to develop new courts.
So what I love about this story is that you didn't just stop there. You weren't like, hey, I've got it in my neighborhood, everything's good, I'll just enjoy playing. As St. Louis Magazine details, you later brought it to a bunch of other parks, Carondelet Park and Tower Grove Park and Forest Park and Francis Park. Did you ever run into any organized opposition from tennis players saying, hey, like, hands off our courts?
No, there's some really wonderful tennis facilities in and around the city. In fact, I did some analysis before I got into it, and there were 149 tennis courts just in the city alone of St. Louis that people could play. So I knew there was capacity to definitely have tennis and pickleball intertwined, and we certainly wanted to be a good partner, as we are a partner around the country in many facilities. So there was definitely room for growth, and quite honestly, several players from tennis or racquetball or other sports convert over to pickleball or play both sports at the same time and just fall in love with pickleball. And so just like the report says, the courts are full, they're loaded. In many cases at Tower Grove, they have 9 tennis courts, and we have 8 pickleball courts, and we usually have about 20 or 30 people waiting to play pickleball, and the tennis courts are barely full. So
that has certainly been what I have seen at Tower Grove Park jogging by. The growth in this sport has been exponential. And if you're part of that growth, we're curious to hear from you. What led you to fall in love with pickleball? Or maybe you're an angry tennis player. You're not happy about this. Either way, we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 314-382-8255. That's 382-TALK. You can also send us a tweet at STL on air, or you can email us at talk@stlpr.org. I got to ask you, Mike, I mean, you're the expert in all this. You're a certified pickleball instructor. The people that Emily ran into playing the game over at Tillis Park, they did not know why it was called pickleball. I'm wondering if you know.
Yeah, it's the game with a funny name, and once you hear it, you never stop hearing it. But no, there are no pickles in pickleball. The game
it's a shame.
Definitely started back in 1965, and with that, there's a couple of different versions of the story. But the game's developers were trying to think of a name. They were playing this funny game that was kind of a mix from old equipment that they didn't have enough of. And ultimately, they decided that they would name it Pickles Ball because their dog Pickles kept running away with the ball. And so it became Pickles Ball.
So, Mike, that story is so great. It almost has to be apocryphal. Do you know that's not just a legend? There really was a dog named Pickles.
The dog wasn't around for the first few years of the sport, but then it caught a lot of popularity. The other quick story is that it's named by the sport a crew, where there's a pickle boat with a lot of mixed engaged participants in it. So it's kind of a mix of a lot of different things. And just like pickleball is a mix of badminton, racquetball, and tennis, and ping pong, so just such as the game like pickleball, that it kind of mixes a lot of people's backgrounds and interests. And you don't need a racket sports background to come into pickleball and play this game. People come from lots of different backgrounds, and whether it's athletics or not, but it's such an easy game to learn. People of all ages are playing right now.
Our guest today is Mike Chapin. He's a certified pickleball instructor. He runs the website stlouispickleball.com. And if you're interested in joining us, our phone lines are open. We're at 314-382-8255. That's 382-TALK. I'm going to go to the phone lines. Max is calling from Veronica Park. Max, hi. You're on St. Louis on the Air.
Good morning. Was this game known from like the early to mid-70s as platform tennis?
That's a great question, and I have no idea, but hopefully Mike does. Mike?
Actually, no. It's a completely different sport, platform tennis. I actually play it in the wintertime as a same-size court, different ball, different paddle. And pickleball is certainly a racket sport like it, but different game, yes.
Mike, do you think if pickleball had a name like platform tennis, it maybe wouldn't be seeing the exponential growth that it's now seeing? The charm of that name is surely part of it.
It really is, and like I said, it's this name that's going to get the curse and the blessing. Once you hear it, you never forget it, but sometimes people don't take you really serious. And the game has actually become very popular athletically and organizationally. There's a lot of different tournaments. We just came off the United States Pickleball Open, U.S. Open of Pickleball in Naples, Florida, where over 2,000 people were playing on 60 different courts with large purses and major sponsors and top players from around the world playing. So, and that's happening throughout the U.S. with lots of different local tournaments and organizations. But most of the people aren't tournament players that play the game. They're, parents and grandparents and kids of parents and everybody. I never considered a sport that would be so transformative to bring people together. But I don't know a physical game where a grandchild and a grandparent can be physical on the same field or court together like pickleball. And that's just the beauty of the game.
We got a tweet from Ted. He writes, I started playing pickleball because I hate running. Grabbed a bunch of dads from my daughter's soccer team about 3 years ago and haven't stopped playing since. Is that part of the appeal? Unlike tennis, you don't have to run up and down the court in the days when you're not so good at it.
The court is about a third of the size of a tennis court. And yes, the appeal is that you don't have to run and sprint all over, but you have to have quick lateral and movements of agility with good eye-hand coordination. Because the court is only 44 feet long by 20 feet wide. And there's a section of it called the no volley zone that you may be only about 14 or 15 feet away from your opponent. The ball seems very fast and very quick. And so it takes a lot of athletic ability to play it at a very high level, or a lot of fun just playing and popping it over the net with whoever you're with and your opponents or your partners. So it's exciting for everybody.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Marianne is calling from St. Louis. Marianne, hi, you're on St. Louis on the Air.
Hi, thank you. I was going to make a comment. I wanted to say that I'm in my late 40s, and I started playing about 3 years ago, and I had forgotten just how much fun it is to play a sport with your friends as a grown adult. If you've never tried it, I would say try it. It's fun.
That's great. And so this is something where it kind of rekindled your love of competition maybe a bit, or love of athletics, Marianne?
Yeah, my husband and I both play, and so it's been nice, healthy competition for the two of us also. And we kind of consider it our date night. We go and play pickleball together.
Marianne, that's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that experience. Mike, my sense is that COVID-19 has helped raise pickleball's profile and ascendancy in St. Louis even more, in that, people are just kind of looking for something to do. It's outdoors. You're not necessarily within 6 feet of people. Do you think that's accelerated what was already some fast growth?
It really has, and it allowed people to do safely social distance and be able to be connected and be athletic. In fact, during the pandemic, when courts were kind of locked up in a lot of places or community centers were shut down, you couldn't buy a portable net anywhere because people were buying them for their homes or their cul-de-sacs or their driveways. And it was really quite interesting to see once the courts did open up how full they quickly became. So we've seen some incredible growth. We're excited about a lot of the new places to play around St. Louis, the parks that we mentioned a little bit earlier, the community centers, a lot of the tennis clubs that are involved with it now, like Veta Sports or Sunset or Frontenac, or we have even a new dedicated pickleball center that's going to start opening up in July down in Fenton called the Missouri Pickleball Club. The country clubs are getting all involved with it. So we're seeing some incredible opportunity to get on the court and try this game.
Mike, I'm going to squeeze in one last phone call here. Rose is calling from St. Louis. Rose, hi, you're on St. Louis on the Air.
Hi. I have a quick question. So the community that I live in, about a year or so, maybe a couple of years back, replaced a full basketball court in the community with a half court and a pickleball court. So there was a lot of commentary at the time about the reasoning behind that being to keep, in quotes, undesirable elements out of the community. And so primarily groups of boys, for the most part, and young men who would come and play basketball, often with other friends from the community here, but they were often black. So I guess my question has to do with pickleball and its perception as a primarily white sport, and are there efforts to bring this sport, or is it played in communities of color?
Rose, thank you. That's a great question. Mike, that certainly is the image that this is maybe older white Americans. Is that beginning to change, and is that happening intentionally, if it is?
I believe there's a lot of efforts at various community centers and various organizations that are saying, hey, this is such an easy game and it brings communities together. I know a lot of the things that were happening up in Florissant, there was a lot of efforts amongst the United States Pickleball Association to do educational programs and bring pickleball to the folks up there. The fact that we have almost 30 permanent pickleball courts in the city of St. Louis gives people the opportunity to just come to some of these parks and play. I run a free pickleball camp for kids in the summer at Tillis through the city. So, yeah, I think it is becoming very inclusive, and we are seeing a tremendous amount of diversity in the game, not only age-wise, but we're seeing it in a lot of different backgrounds of folks, is it's becoming a much more international sport than it's ever been.
Well, that's good to hear, and hopefully that growth will continue to be inclusive as pickleball continues to take off. We got one last tweet I'm going to fit in here. Sandy tweets, I started playing with my retired husband and enjoy it. However, I got too aggressive and went back for a shot and hit it, but my body kept going back and I fell and broke a wrist. Will now keep my weight over my feet and let those long balls go. I love that Sandy mentioned that she did hit that shot. But it's good to hear, and just a warning that even though this is a really safe sport, man, you always need to be careful. Something always can go wrong. But we're glad to hear that people are getting their kicks from pickleball. So Mike Chapin of stlouispickleball.com, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and getting us up to speed on this sport.
Oh, you're most welcome, and I can't say enough about having people to come out and try the sport. Just put a paddle in your hand, and before you know it, you're going to be hooked, like a lot of the commentators said. So thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.